Thank you for tuning in today to I Retire for Him, the voice and resource of the Retirement Reformation, online at retirementreformation.org. Did you know that when you retire, your calling doesn't retire? Your calling is a lifetime calling. And if you're still around, God isn't done with you yet. And as we head into the Christmas, good grief, we're only a week away. God's got such purpose and plans for you, especially as the new year is around the corner. You've tuned into I Retire for Him, the voice and resource of the Retirement Reformation, online at retirementreformation.org. Bruce Bruinsma joins us today. As the founder of the Retirement Reformation, he invites you to check us out online, retirementreformation.org, and a walk with him as he walks through these days of retirement. You know, it's literally 2 weeks until New Year's Eve. And as a retired Christ follower, what is your plan for making a difference as the new year rings in? In this new series, we challenge both of us and all of you to the statement, not everyone can do the same thing, but everyone can do something. What does that look like for you as we lead up to celebrating New Year's Eve? On today's podcast, Bruce and I will talk about New Year's past and present and how we can serve our neighbors with some old lang syne. We'll make sure, by the way, I just learned that that's what that really is. I always thought it was Old Lang Syne. I had no idea what that really was. All right, but we're going to make sure and give everyone listening today some ideas on what you can do to make a difference in someone's life leading up to ringing in the new year with friends and family. Bruce, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Jim, a Merry Christmas to you, my friend, and the happiest of New Years. Knowing while that, in fact, there will be challenges, but that with God's love and the wisdom of the Holy Spirit, we can navigate through it and to do it with love and with joy and peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, and self-control. That's the new year that I'm looking forward to.
It's so hard to believe that we're going to celebrate Christmas next week and New Year's in 2 weeks. It takes my breath away. 2024 went by so fast, yet so slow. But it's like, it's gone, it's here, it's gone, done, bye. All right, but here's my question. Let's get personal for a minute. What do you and Judy have planned for Christmas? What are you guys going to do? Do you guys have some family in town? What are you going to do for Christmas?
Well, for Christmas, our son Brent, who's special needs, lives in a group home, but is very active, and that's in California. We live in Colorado. So on most months, we go to California to visit with him. And each year for Christmas, for the last, probably 5 or 6 years, we've said to Brent, where would you like to go for Christmas? And he comes up with some pretty good places, but this year he came up with a real good one. He said, Palm Springs. I said, well, why do you want to go to Palm Springs? He said, because they have a Barnes & Noble bookstore there. I said, well, why do you want to go to a Barnes & Noble bookstore? He said, because they've got some books that I really need to read. And so Judy and Brent and I are going to be in Palm Springs for Christmas.
Wow, I can't wait to get the list from you on the books that Brent picked out. I thought you were going to come back and say, Brent, we have a Barnes & Noble right here in Colorado Springs. You could come here, but you didn't try that with him. Okay, all right. So what about New Year's celebration? Are you going to be at home? Are you going to be at home for New Year's?
We will be home for New Year's, but we will be leaving shortly after that, starting in, probably last January, February. Judy doesn't have a lot of fat on her, and she gets cold easily. So one of the things that I can do for her is to find opportunities like Palm Springs, thank you, Brent, where in fact it's a little warmer than it is in Colorado. And so right after New Year's, we'll have a 10-day cruise out of Los Angeles that goes down to the Mexican Riviera and back. And so look for these unique opportunities. You've heard me say often, Jim, that there's nothing wrong with leisure. It has, it's pleasurable. It has value. It doesn't have a lot of meaning and purpose, but it has pleasure and valuable. So to be able to build things in, and because I made those arrangements almost a year ago, in spite of the challenges that Judy's gone through and continues to go through, we're looking forward to that time together.
You know what's fun is New Year's Eve celebrations. When Martha and I lived in our neighborhood back in Florida, we'd often invite many people over in the neighborhood just come celebrate New Year's. And most people would go home before the bell dropped in New York City, but we'd have a lot of fireworks going on. I bet you and Judy used to have some humdinger of office parties for New Year's Eve. You guys used to have big parties for New Year's Eve? So I just imagine that you did.
Yeah, well, it'll be a good imagination, but I got to tell you that generally we did not.
Really?
For whatever reason in our family, New Year's Eve was more of a quiet meal and a time of reflection about the new year than it was celebrating at that point in time. So that was different. I can remember right after Judy and I were married and we were living in Dearborn, Michigan, and it was New Year's Eve. I think it was our second New Year's Eve after we were married, maybe the third. And so we had a meal together and we prayed and talked about some things for the new year. And Judy said, I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to bed. So that was like around 10:30. So now it's midnight and I'm going, well, what am I going to do now? So I went into the kitchen. I found a pot and pan and I went and stood on our front porch and I beat on a pot and pan to introduce our neighbors and myself into the new year. After beating on that for seemed like an eternity, all of a sudden I found there was Judy standing behind me and she said, would you please stop that?
It's better than
stop that ruckus.
Where were you guys living then? Was that California? Was that Oregon? Where were you guys at?
That was in Dearborn, Michigan.
In Michigan. You're lucky somebody didn't pull out a shotgun and shoot at you in Dearborn, Michigan.
Absolutely. Today that probably would happen, but this was some numbers of years ago.
All right.
So anyway, that was our New Year's Eve at that point in time.
At the beach, when we lived across the street from the beach for 20 years, on New Year's Eve, from midnight until 12:30, fireworks, like 4th of July kind of fireworks, just constantly. It was hilarious. I always loved that. I never thought about the pot and a big wooden spoon. I may try that this year in Missouri and see how that goes over. It may not go over well, and there's a lot more guns here. All right, so New Year's, Bruce, is like this. It's a significant time for others. It's really just another day, but it seems to have a special effect on all of us as we're able to reflect on the year past and look forward to a new year. Why is it so special to be able to do that?
These unique times of transition in our lives, and some of them are those unique times of transition are created by our circumstances and the events of our life. But there are some that are kind of preordained by God to say, look, here's a time. It's like for the Israelites, they had certain festivals for certain reasons. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't because it was something that was in their life. It was what God said, hey, here's a time for you to step out, step back, look forward, be thankful. And that always impressed me at how systematic God was with his people, and he is with us, saying there are these unique times where you need to look up, you need to look out, and you need to realize that God is calling you to something more, something better, and something bigger.
A lot of people sit there and think, yeah, but what does God want from me in 2025? And really, the answer is universal, and it doesn't even take, having to go in and hear from a prophetic intercessor. The scriptures are clear with it. He just wants a relationship with you. It's why he sent Jesus, so that we could be one-on-one with our Heavenly Father. And that's something significant to look forward to in 2025. When we come back after our time with Joel Werdell from the Christian Association Youth Mentoring, Bruce, I want to give let's give some specific ideas of how we can use New Year's Eve to launch our ministry, do something to touch the lives of those around us with intentionality on New Year's Eve and beyond. You're listening to I Retire for Him. We'll be right back.
Recreating Retirement is an interactive small group study helping you to move from nothing to what's next. You can join us on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. East Coast time on Facebook Live. Our goal for this study is to provide a group setting for interaction and new ideas while leading you through a first step in your journey from retirement to reformation. Here's the big idea. During the next 5 years, 5,000 small groups will experience this journey of discovery in churches and faith-based organizations across the country. Is your church a place where recreating retirement needs to be planted? Join us online to experience the study or prepare to lead a small group at your church or ministry. Email us at contactus@retirementreformation.org or go to our website at retirementreformation.org. That's retirementreformation.org.
Hey, welcome back to I Retire For Him. As we're spending this 3-part series on, hey, everybody could do something, but just can't always do the same thing, or maybe not all of us can do the same thing, but everybody can do something. However, the title of the book is, Bruce, I didn't get to read the book yet. Bruce, every second segment of the show, we always bring in somebody to have a conversation with us about how they're living out their faith. And we're really focusing on wraparound grandparenting. Who do you have for us today? Let's take the conversation forward.
Good. I'd like to introduce our audience to Joel Werdell. We'd had an opportunity to interview you, I think, some time ago, but we've got a unique opportunity now. It was my pleasure to spend a couple of really intense but profitable days with Joel and a group of other Christian leaders in the fostering movement. And Joel is the recent president of the Christian Association for Youth Mentoring. And so one of the things that we did talk about during our 2 days together with the team and talking about how can we take the legacy of love and bring that to the fostering movement. And one of the things that Joel brought to our conversation was the realization that in those dialogues, in that opportunity, there is a role for what we call mentoring. So Joel, if you'd take us for just a minute or two on the journey that you were on as you recognized the role that mentoring can play in bringing fostering support, wraparound grandparenting to the fostering movement.
Yeah, thanks, Bruce. It's the work that we're doing at Christian Association of Youth Mentoring is to really see how communities are transformed through mentoring. And a big part of that is looking where you can provide stability in an otherwise can be really hectic or chaotic environment for a young person. And I think as you look across the foster care system, the work that we're doing and what we're hearing from, example, a social worker, is they're trying to provide very similar to a grandparent type of resourcing. For example, foster care or social workers are getting hit up, multiple times a day. Hey, can you take me to this baseball game? Can you take me to this football game? Can I somebody to hang out with me here? And that is exhausting for a social worker to do that. And a lot of these kids, otherwise, they're not going to make it to these events. So that's like one really practical way, is just to provide some stability for a young person to be able to go to some events, have some conversations, have a lead in. I think the other one is these, having a foster care family continue on through some of these trials. A lot of folks leave after a year. And the number one reason that they stay longer than that is a support system around them. And so if you look at the biggest things that someone can do, we talked a lot in our conversation, right? Just coming over and helping out with laundry, helping and coming over and, making a meal. Like, hey, every Monday, I'm going to come over and make you a meal. You think about this like really stable moments that a grandparent type figure can provide, and it becomes that bedrock that the family and a child really benefits from.
Well, particularly for the children to be able to see someone who is willing to help them without an agenda.
That's right.
Joel,
and that's what grandparents are. They're willing to help without an agenda other than to show love and to want to embrace.
No, spoiling is always involved. Grandparents always want to spoil. Spoiling's always involved. Joel, let me ask you this question. Growing up, did you have a mentor in your life?
I did. I was very fortunate to have mentors throughout, whether it was in different school systems, different church mentors and leaders of mine, small group leaders, professors in college, and then coaches along the way were incredibly inspiring. And even now in the business world, having mentors at different stages have helped me with different things, right? Whether it's an experience that I'm stepping into that I don't know a lot, or it's a career that I'm really excited to keep pursuing and growing, or whether it's finding somebody that is a great father. I'm like, I'd love to learn from that person, right? So there's so many ways that people have poured into me, and I am excited to not only do that at an individual level, but really help communities put formal processes in so that kids that don't have that type of social network and social capital around them have mentors available to them.
Can you imagine what your life would have been like without a mentor? Like if you'd gone all the way through, I don't know, how old are you now? 50, 45, 50? How old are you?
Yeah, I'm 43.
Okay, 40. That's close the second time.
Yeah,
all right, so 40.
close.
But can you imagine never having had a mentor, that you'd been on your own alone? Would you be where you are today running the Christian Association of Youth Mentoring?
Yeah, I think even the previous executive director has been a mentor of mine. As I was helping start some other nonprofits and being involved, looking at, he was big into the outdoors. And so I think about just even how the outdoors has really changed my perspective on my faith and hardship, suffering. That those perspectives that I have gotten, plus those friendships, have been life-changing. And the things that I've been able to do with my kids, the confidence, right? Spending time with them, giving them another skill, all of that was passed down to me through mentoring, and people that were pouring into me. And so that would be a huge aspect that I would not have a part of my life. Someone taught me how to whitewater kayak, how to, lead rock climb, how to climb mountains, how to guide trips in big mountaineering, big mountains. And all of that now I'm passing on to the next generation, right? This last summer, I got to take a trip with mainly high school boys. And it was one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had in the mountains. And so I look at all of that is from people that poured into me and different mentors that have passed those skills on to me.
And when we think of the wide breadth of experience and capacity that seniors have and apply that into that family setting, there's a lot of kids in foster care that have never seen a mountain. There's kids in foster care that have never seen snow. There are kids in foster care that have never experienced love without an agenda.
Yeah.
And so these are all things that we have the capacity to pour into someone else, but we need to be proactive. We need to be active, not passive. And so the mentoring education, the mentoring training that we'll provide in conjunction with you for those that are wanting to step into the wraparound grandparenting role will help them to go from being passive to being aggressive, going from being, well, I don't know if I have anything to offer, to I have something to offer.
Everybody's got doesn't everybody have something to offer, Bruce? Doesn't everybody have something to offer?
Everyone has something to offer, but not everyone is willing to be transparent enough with that offering or confident enough to identify it. Oh, I can't tell you the number of seniors who have said to me, well, there's nothing that I can do. And then we sit down and talk and you find out about their experiences and you go, well, what about that?
I'd love to share a story. One of my favorite memories of my grandparents is playing cards with them. They were huge card players. And one of the games that they loved was Pinochle. And my grandpa even had a name that we would call him because he got so fired up about playing, and he would get excited, and you know put a card down heavy on the table. And I just looked at those memories, and I wanted to learn that game, right? I'm like, this game is really fun. Clearly my parents and grandparents are having a good time, and then it's just a chance to interact with them and to laugh and enjoy that time. And it took zero effort, right? We were just out there having fun and playing this card game. And I think that's true for a lot of those relationships, right? You don't need to be able to summit a mountain. Although I've seen one of the coolest moments was seeing a 75-year-old taking his grandson and some of the grandson's friends up this incredibly difficult mountain. I was blown away. And then a few yards up, or a mile up the road, there's another group of, all of them were over 70 years old on this mountain. It blew me away. I'm like, yes, of course you can do that at 70 years old. But we're not asking people to do that. We're asking people to, sit down and have some tea, play a card game, maybe go to a park and look at some of the mountains, look at some of the beautiful scenery, right? Like you're saying, like that doesn't take a lot of skill, but those that have skill, that passing that down to the next generation is so critical and so important. If you have some woodworking skills or you have cooking skills, I love baking sourdough, right? Like even something so simple like that can really change someone's life once they have that skill.
We have something in common because I like eating sourdough. Joel, right. I love it. How can people get a hold of the Christian Association of Youth Mentoring to see, just to check out what you guys are doing and the people that are part of your association?
Yeah, if you go to caym.org, you can learn more there. And then, of course, in the coming months, we'll have more information on the partnership and Retirement Reformation. So I'm fired up about all the things. And yeah, again, caym.org.
Thanks, Joel, for being with us on I Retire For Him. We'll be right back with more.
Our work on this earth doesn't end when the paycheck stops. God calls us to be faithful for a lifetime. Whether you're looking forward to retirement or you're already there, our all-small group study, Recreating Retirement, will help you understand, engage, and activate what God has for you in this fourth quarter of life. Join Retirement Reformation founder Bruce Bruinsma as you consider your past, strengths, spiritual gifts, and your passions, and how they all come together as the call God has for you in these years. Connect with us on our online community group at facebook.com/Retirement Reformation, Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, or if you'd like to bring Recreating Retirement to your church, email us at contactus@retirementreformation.org. Are you ready to start your life-changing journey today?
Hey, welcome back to I Retire For Him, as we're talking about leading up to New Year's Eve. A couple weeks from now, New Year's Eve will be right upon us. And we're talking about how do we live with intentionality in looking at that celebration, because there's so much we can do, but so many people like, I can't do anything. I'm too old, or I don't have any ideas. We're here to give you some ideas of not everybody can do the same thing, but everybody can do something as we lead up to New Year's Eve. And in our final podcast in this series, the next one you'll pick up in a couple weeks right before New Year's Eve, we're going to talk about 2025, being intentional. So Bruce, what are some of the things that each of us can do to help somebody else on New Year's Eve? What are some of the things that come to your mind? Like, what can you do? You're caregiving right now, so your number one responsibility is Judy. But what can some people do to really put their faith into action on New Year's Eve?
Well, I think it's New Year's Eve. It's also the few days before, that week between Christmas and New Year's. Can be a preparatory one. And the thought that comes to mind, Jim, is that we can commit to being transparent. We can commit to being transparent. What does that look like? Well, take one of the guys from church and take them out for breakfast and be transparent with them about what it is that you are fearful about and what it is that you're expecting in the new year. And so when we are transparent with someone else, that invites them to be transparent. And now that builds relationship. and they have the opportunity for the Holy Spirit to speak to us, through us, and with us. And so to find multiple opportunities with your kids, with your friends, and maybe with someone at church or in your neighborhood that said, I'd really kind of like to get to know them, but I don't know them at all. Invite them out, take them out to, we got a little restaurant here called Omelets. And you can get a really great breakfast for, $8. And go take them out for breakfast and then be transparent. Not just probing into them, but start with who it is that you are. What have you learned for the year? What is it that you want to learn looking into the new year? What are the pains that you're experiencing? And what is it that you're being impressed with of how you can be of help to someone else? And maybe you can engage with that person in some kind of activity together. But being transparent, I think, is a wonderful place to begin as you prepare for the new year.
I love that idea. Just spend some time. I can't believe you got a place in Colorado Springs you can have breakfast for $8. That part, I'm thinking, you can't even eat McDonald's for $8 anymore. That's great. Everybody go to Colorado Springs, go to Omelets and have one. That's fantastic. All right. So one of the things I've noticed, Bruce, is that New Year's Eve can be a very lonely time for people, especially Christmas to New Year's. Because there's a lot of people that they're not near their family because they moved away for a job, or they don't have money to go home, or frankly, their family's all gone, whatever it may be. What's one thing we can do? First of all, let me ask this question. How do we know if somebody's lonely?
Yeah, you can assume that someone's lonely. If there is no family in the area, they are lonely. If they do not have a really foundational church support group, a life group, Sunday school class, a small group that they meet with regularly, it's guaranteed that they are lonely. As a matter of fact, for most people, the correct answer to your question is just assume they are lonely and go from there. You will find out in such a high percentage of times that really is the case. And you can be lonely in a crowd. And so we've talked about loneliness before in our podcast, and we'll talk about it again. But, where we are here, for example, there's X number of armed services people in this town that are here not by choice, but by direction, and that they can't afford, or they don't have the time flexibility to go see someone, that they would love to have an opportunity to be with someone. And so you can assume that loneliness is the case. Our daughter and son-in-law have 12 cadets from the Air Force Academy. Now they've got 2 boys of their own that are there. They've got another 10 that they have adopted. And they are with them every weekend from Friday night through Sunday, that they are available to be off campus. And they go to church together on Friday night. And then on Saturday and Sunday, they have free reign of their home, and they're able to be together in community. So when we talk about transparency, to be able to bring an opportunity for community to exist is really special. Yeah. And I am sure that if you know anybody in the armed forces, ask them who they know that is lonely, and there'll be plenty of opportunities. Then look around at the growth in the number of senior citizen homes. I guarantee you, on New Year's Day and New Year's evening and New Year's Eve, that there is a group there or individuals that would love to have someone just sit with them, maybe to cry with them, but certainly to be transparent with them,
right? And
to say that God loves you. It's so easy to do, and it's a growing need.
Yeah, it is so true. And that's really the point that I want to drive home, is that as we head into New Year's Eve, Christmas and New Year's Eve here in the next couple of weeks, just look around the houses that surround where you live, whether you live in an apartment, so that'd be the apartments that surround where you live, or if you're in an assisted living community, the people that live in the rooms around you, or if you're in a nursing home, the people that live in the rooms around you. But say, how many of them have family? They're visiting them. How many of them have a friend that comes to visit them? And just invite somebody into your home. It is one of the most powerful tools of God is when we as believers bring people into our homes where the Holy Spirit reigns and the power of God is in existence, and people who don't know God will feel God in your home, whether that home is a one-bedroom or apartment or an efficiency, or whether it's a palatial mansion. It doesn't matter. Your home is where your heart is, and people will love to be invited in your home. Bruce, it's amazing, but we do need to live with intentionality as we head into New Year's Eve, don't we? We really do.
We really do. It's this passive, well, whatever happens is what will happen, rather than being aggressive and being active in our outreach. And as seniors, I think it's harder for seniors than it is even for others. And so our encouragement to everyone who's listening, and send this podcast, send a copy of it or a connection to it to someone else that you know anywhere in the country, and be active in your outreach. Be transparent in your relationships, and the difference that you will make will bring meaning and purpose to your life. And it is the way that God wanted us to be in community.
And for Bruce and I, Merry Christmas. We know that that's next week. And before New Year's gets here, we'll have one more show where we're going to talk about how do we really plan with intentionality to do something, maybe not the same thing as everybody else, in 2025. You've been listening to I Retire for Him, the voice and resource of the Retirement Reformation, with your host, Jim Brangenberg, and Retirement Reformation's very own founder, Bruce Brynsma. We're Christ followers, journeying from retirement to reformation. So ultimately, we can say, I retire for Him.
I retire for Him.
Thanks for listening to I Retire for Him with your hosts Jim and Martha Brangenberg and Retirement Reformation founder Bruce Brynsma. I Retire for Him is the mouthpiece of the Retirement Reformation. Most Christians tend to follow the world's pattern of rest and self-pampering during retirement. However, in your retirement, you can be focused on God's unique call to love, serve, and help others. This can be your best season of life if you take advantage of a life's worth of knowledge and experience and combine it with a greater freedom of time and money and invest it all in the generations both preceding and following you. The Retirement Reformation is encouraging Christians to find and follow God's call in all seasons and aspects of life, especially in retirement. Take time to sign the manifesto at retirementreformation.org and explore the wealth of resources available on our site. Join this movement of God and journey from retirement to reformation so you can say, I retire for Him. Go to retirementreformation.org.